Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for all the work that's been done and for including us. And it's been, I think, a very rich discussion so far. I'd like to just share a few thoughts. First of all, enormous thanks to Stefania, to UNESCO, and all of the colleagues involved in getting the conversations to where they've gotten so far. By no means an easy exercise or an easy topic. And I think that UNESCO and everybody else involved has truly seized on what I would call a historic moment facing not only the education sector, but the development sector at large. And this was, as many people have said thus far, prompted by the COVID crisis. But that was also a moment of awakening and awareness about both how critical and vital the education sector is to the development agenda, but how vulnerable education is. And we've certainly heard this in multiple conversations in the run-up to our summit meeting at the end of the month, just in about 10 days, but running through the G7, running through Generation Equality, which was in a wonderful event in Paris just a couple of weeks ago. And so I think that UNESCO has very much succeeded in taking stock of the moment of where we are, and I really applaud them. At the same time, I would like to share a couple of what I would call practical areas of concern that I think that the group may want to take into consideration as it thinks about its work going forward. And this is these are some very specific practical concerns about the structures that are being proposed going forward. And much of what I'm about to say is sort of a fit for purpose type of question. The first one is that I believe that the high-level steering group is perhaps a bit too big at 28 people. And one of the things that we've heard on a regular basis is how important it is, for example, to take into consideration the voices of other sectors and what other sectors expect of education. For example, the health sector, the climate sector, the agricultural sector, certainly everybody involved in the whole gender discussion. And a concern that I have about the configuration of the high-level steering group is that it doesn't necessarily allow easily bringing in these other voices. And I think that's something that needs to be thought about. I think the structure is a bit heavy. And while working in a partnership setting is certainly very complicated and involves, the slow, steady, serious process of consultation, I think what is being proposed may wind up being a bit heavy. And I think that as the whole effort gets into its first few months, there ought to be regular attention paid to the question of streamlining and heaviness, and a willingness to reconsider this and reconsider that because of the question of agility. Another point about practicality involves the benchmarking results, the 7 areas of benchmarking results. I think that it looks as if they are, the ones chosen are largely a derivative of the SDG 4 indicators, completely understood. But when the SDG 4 indicators were adopted, which now seems a very long time ago, it was a very long time ago, and in many ways in a previous age relative to the challenges as we face now. And I do think it's very important that the whole process of adopting indicators is very country-driven and not very top-down driven. And I know that in our work, we have specifically adopted an approach where countries determine their own indicators. And it's something that I think that this group may wish to reconsider, is how to make sure that the adoption of indicators is very, very country driven. And then taking that a step further, that those indicators reflect the main issues of the day, which are 21st century skills, gender equality, preparedness for what is going to be a much more technology-driven education world, the importance of introducing innovative financing, and using education in part as a driver to achieving climate change, preparedness, resilience, It's a lengthy list. So perhaps some reconsideration on the use of the indicators. Just as a final point, please know that we are completely with you and behind you as GPE, and are most happy to stay involved and be helpful in any way that we can. I would encourage that there is some reconsideration of some of the structural issues of what is being proposed in a set period of time to take into consideration some of these points, these practical points that I've raised about how agile and streamlined the whole effort is. But overall, enormous thanks to you, and we are completely behind you and with you, and happy to be helpful in any way that we can.